So I guess if you're like unaware, recently I have recently I've like taken a big step back from what, what do I mean if you're unaware? If you're unaware of like a very personal thing that I kept personal to myself. Yeah, I think a lot of people are probably unaware, even in my own life. But I've taken like a really massive step back from like short form content recently. And I just wanted to have like a chat about like what that's like for me and conclusions that I found in that. Because I've found a few things that I think are like super potent, and kind of like really cool truths that I think are like going to be really important for me to get into. One of the first things I noticed was that I started asking questions again, and just like this is like a really small thing. Like this isn't that big of a deal, but like I did start asking a lot more questions. And while I just said it's literally a small thing, it might be, but I think it does kind of indicate and speak to a much larger issue with like short form content as a whole. I've found in my experience with short form content that it sucks up your soul. The more like I spent the last year like like getting intoxicated off of a one substance or another and like vaping and like looking at short form content, and that was like my whole thing. So I'd spend every evening and I just get sucked into it, and it was a completely subconscious behavior. It wasn't something that I was like even in the slightest thinking about. Like it would just happen. I'd get like drunk or I'd get stoned and I would just look at my phone for hours. And then that became like where before that wasn't a thing that I did. Like mixing it with intoxicants really kicked that up a notch for me, and it really like made me turn that into a concrete habit. Turned it into a really concrete habit, which are not good, by the way. You shouldn't be doing that. Like it's bad. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that. But I think um, one of the biggest problems that I found with it, for sure, was that it sucked away like my ability to like think and ask questions. And short form content specifically, I think, was really good at doing this. Short form content, by nature, is designed to like ruin your sense of what's going on around you. It ruins your ability to ask questions and think more critically about what you're seeing, because it's not what short form content is designed to do. Do you think Mark Zuckerberg's up in the CEO like fucking headquarters of YouTube going, how do we make this guy think deeper about his life? Fuck no, they don't give a shit. They want you to be an absolute idiot. They want you to be drooling over your computer screen, drooling over your phone screen, just completely unable to suck yourself out of it, because that gives them engagement and that keeps them absolutely paramountly involved in your life, and you can't separate yourself from that. And that's like what they want. That's what their app's designed for. But that like not only serves the purpose of like sucking you in and like turning your brain into mush, like pressing in a baby's soft part of the head. Like, not only does it do that to you, which is horrible, and like, please, like, take a step back from social media. I can guarantee the same thing will happen to you. You'll realize how shit it is, and you'll never want to fucking touch the thing again. But like, not only does it like make you realize how shit it is, but like, I think the biggest thing that I found was that it made me realize how much littler I thought afterwards, after the fact. So like, it serves the purpose of making you an idiot, and then it also serves the purpose of making you, like, it serves you the purpose of making you an idiot in the short term while you are actively, um, while you are actively watching, while you're actively engaging with the content that you're looking at. Serves that purpose of making you an idiot, but then it also like really nullifies you in the bigger picture. Like I found that I thought like I still had good political beliefs and everything because I'm like quite a morally like headstrong person, but I found that like a lot of my political beliefs were kind of cowed. And I didn't think as critically as I could have about a lot of really important things that I would have previously like really thought about. And like I found myself really afraid. I found myself really afraid. Like, I mean, this kind of coincides with other stuff that was going on at the time. I mean, I have an anxiety condition and I was going through a lot of stress at that time. Like I have like very documented and very severe anxiety that I've had ever since I was a child. But like short form content, not only like I say, not only did it make me stupider, it made me so stressed. It made me so fearful. because I lost that ability to like really critically think about what I was hearing. And I would hear these horrible things about AI, and I'd hear these horrible things about like the political system and like what might happen in the future, and I was just absolutely like paramountly sure that these bad things would happen because it was so scary that I didn't even take a step back to question like, hey, is this true, or is this just like a really scary thing? And it seems true because it's so scary that if it wasn't true, why would anyone be saying it? Or it seems so scary that like if it wasn't true, it doesn't even matter if it's not true because it's so scary that I have to pay attention to it. And that coincides with a loss of critical thinking because in my experience overcoming my anxiety recently, I found out one big thing about anxiety that I didn't know before, that I feel like I should have known, but I didn't know anyway. And that's like the more and more that I ignore how anxious I am, and the more and more I refuse to face what's happening to me, and I refuse to face what scares me, and look it in the eyes, and like be like, okay, look, this is terrifying, and it really affects me, and I'm really scared of it. And why? You know, you ask that question of why. And as soon as I asked that question, as soon as I went, why does this scare me? All of a sudden, I found myself going in a pipe hole. I was like, well, why am I afraid of dying? Why am I afraid of the possibility that something bad's going to happen to me? Why am I afraid of, like, why am I afraid of having surgery? Why am I afraid of needing to have, like, dental work done? Why am I afraid of death? Why am I afraid of leaving people alone, like dying and leaving my family alone? Why does that scare me? And why does it scare me so much that I can't think about anything else? And as soon as I started asking those questions, I found that a lot of it was because I was like ignoring myself, and I was ignoring the place that I have in the universe, which is one of suffering. Like everyone's kind of inherently suffering, and that's a religious belief of mine. Like I believe in Buddhism. Like that's a personal thing, but also just I think the biggest thing was once I stopped ignoring my problems and I stopped ignoring what I was afraid of, only then was I actually able to be like, okay, like it seems a lot less scary. And having that dialogue with myself, which you can't do when you're sucked into short form content. When you're constantly stimulated and there's constantly something going on, you can't have that dialogue with yourself that I used to have and that I otherwise would cherish. You know, I didn't have that dialogue constantly there for me, and I wasn't having a check-in and a chat with myself. So how could I ever sit in quiet and face what I was afraid of if I was always some way, subconsciously or consciously, running from it? You know, and I think that's kind of part of what I find so insidious about short form content is that it floods you, it overwhelms you, and it overwhelms your ability to face yourself, which is really horrifying. Like that really scares me. It really disturbs me, honestly. Like it's really bothering me how much it doesn't have the same effect on me anymore. But I'm looking back on it and I'm like, man, I was so run down and I was so afraid because I was just being drawn into this thing like constantly. And like I say short form content, but just social media as a whole, man, like it's designed to do that. But I was just thinking like it's so insidious, and I needed to talk about it because like it was really getting me down that I know a lot of other people in my life had been experiencing similar things, and I was like, man, this really should be the case. I need to have a chat about this. And I was having a talk about it anyway, and I just decided to turn on my camera. But regardless, I want to say like, oh, this is also something I wanted to note while I'm at it. Like I was saying, like it removes your ability to like critically think, and when you remove that ability to critically think, you start struggling to question anything. Like I didn't question a lot when I was like super kind of hooked in the short form content cycle. I wasn't questioning a lot of what was going on around me. And like what I was consuming online, I was just consuming it. I was just a zombie, you know. I was mindlessly consuming this content that was being fed to me by an algorithm that does not have my best interests at heart whatsoever. It does not fucking have your best interests at heart. That's for sure. That's, if I can say anything, absolutely true. The algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, whatever algorithm you're on, YouTube, well, it doesn't have your best interests at heart. It wants your attention, and that's something that I think is really concerning. And if I can inject some more of my political beliefs into this, I think a massive wave of what's going on right now with AI and just everything in the world is anti-intellectualism. So if I can end this in a message of hope, I think it's that the reason why these apps are so insidious is because there is a monetary value in our attention. And not only is there monetary value in our attention, there's monetary value in our intelligence. And the reason for that, not only is it because, with the way that our society is organized, ads and everything, like attention and just fucking getting attention online is how you run ads and everything. I also think it's a political thing. I think we're living in a time where there's some great evils that humanity is staring down the barrel of. And I think that those same evils, are very afraid of us. I think there's some beauty in that, and there's a message of hope to be told here, that the same evils that are trying to punish us and trying to remove our intelligence and our sovereignty with short-form content, I think those evils are actually in fact very afraid of us and what our intelligence can do against them. And I think they're afraid of our hope. They're afraid of our autonomy and our intelligence, and if they can steal that through sucking you into a spiral of fear and negativity where you get stuck thinking about yourself and no one else, that's a win for them. But you've got to remember that's all there. It's not like a psyop. I don't think it's like a big government thing. I think it's just like the way that the system's been set up is to fuck you over. And you just got to remember that there's people around you, and that what you're seeing online isn't necessarily true. It's not necessarily real life either, especially now with AI. And you got to remember to lean on people, man. You got to remember to connect, because a lot of, like I say, with my anxiety, like a lot recently, the only things that really changed, the only things that really made me feel better, like concretely made me feel better, was talking about it with myself and talking about it with others. And both of those things made a real world of difference to my mental health. So if you're struggling with the same thing, I want to urge you to go chat with other people, because it's really important to do. It's really, really important to chat with other people. Whatever's going on in your life, have a little korero. That's te reo Māori. That's the indigenous language of my country. That's the word for chat or talk or whatever. Yeah, just have a talk with people that you love, because I think that's really important. I never started getting over my anxiety until I started talking to my girlfriend and my mum about the fact that I was having panic attacks about whenever I experienced any sensation in my teeth, because I have really bad dental anxiety. Whenever I experienced any sensation in my teeth recently, I was having a panic attack about it. You know what I mean? And that's not healthy. It's not normal. And a lot of that panic wasn't even necessarily being triggered by my teeth. It was being triggered by the fact that I saw some horrifying statistic or some horrifying video online. And you would think that these political and geopolitical forces that are trying to steal your attention and trying to do all these horrible things, they don't want us seeing what they're doing, and they don't want us seeing this footage and whatever. And you think there's this little rat in your head that makes you think that you're actually doing something good by seeing those children being bombed. And you're actually doing something good. You're informing yourself by seeing these horrible things happen to people in America, and you're seeing what ICE is doing to families. You think you're educating yourself and you're bringing yourself to a place of knowledge and to a place of understanding with the world around you, but you're not. All you're doing is crippling your own ability to help others by trapping yourself in cycles of negativity that will make you depressed and will make you unable to help other people around you. And that's not the point. All the really good activists I know, and all of the really, really, really intelligent people that I have around me, all at a certain point detached from social media because they realized that it wasn't helping them help others. All that it was doing was kind of giving them this vague sense of control in a life that is void of control. And if I can inject my own personal philosophies and religion into this, that illusion that you have control is completely fake. It'll never be real. You will never really have control over the life that you lead, and you'll never really have control over what happens to you. And that's really scary to come to terms with. But quitting social media made me come to terms with that. And quitting a lot of things in my life, quitting substances, made me come to terms with the fact that bad things might happen to me, and that my life might be one of suffering. And that actually every human life, to some extent, is one of suffering. And that everyone I love, to some degree, will suffer. And that's scary to think about, but it is the truth. And the more and more you run from that, the more and more the truth tries to find you, and the more painful it'll be when the truth does come. And ultimately, I think no matter what you do to run away from yourself or to run away from what you don't want to be seeing, the more and more you struggle with it. And I think social media and short form content teaches you to run. It teaches you that the solution is running away from your problems, and that the solution is being sucked into another world of negativity. But that'll never really be the solution. It's just a fleeting sense of control and a fleeting sense of knowing what's happening in this world. But none of us really do. And I know that's really scary, but like I say, the reason why it feels like so many bad things happen nowadays, I think, is because the people doing the bad things want us to give up. They want us to believe that it's all bad. And I think, quitting social media teaches you the complete opposite, which is that a lot of things that you're afraid of are actually completely in your control, and that you're more powerful than you think you are. That your sense of self and your sense of self-determination and strength is completely stolen by a phone that you think you need and that you think is actually helping you. It's really not. So if there's anything to take away from this, companies don't have your best interests in heart. Take care of yourself, love your family, love your friends, and talk to people if you need to. Because I can't stress enough how much it's helped me. And I just wanted to talk about kind of where social media is at for me. I'm really sick of this stuff. So yeah, blow up your TV.